As you can see, implementing self-instruction in one's learning experience has a lot of advantages, such as the readily availability of information and the ability for learners to take their time and be an active learner. However, there are limitations to its usage, such as that it may not be beneficial for those who have low literacy, have visual and auditory impairments, and have difficulty learning technology. Also, this type of method requires learners to be motivated to learn so that they can push themselves to go through the modules and prevent from procrastination or getting bored. Overall, strategically using a mix of all the methods we just went over can help facilitate one's learning experience. Remember that no method is superior over another, and it all just depends on the specific factors we went over earlier. Well, you look at that. Looks like it's time for another break. Come back in 15 minutes and we'll resume our learning. Welcome back. Let's now talk about the factors in selecting methods and how to evaluate them. We will also go over different techniques on how to be an effective educator and the various settings we may be exposed in when teaching.
All right, guys, now we're going to talk about factors in selection of instructional methods. So before selecting an instructional method to be used, the teacher must have a predetermined behavioral objectives, a target audience in mind, resources that will support them in teaching, and knowing their strengths and limitations. Teaching experience is the #1 factor in selecting what instructional method to use. Developing the skill of teaching occurs in formal academic environments, and more novice teachers can continue this development through continuing education or seeking guidance from an expert. While different types of learners thrive in different environments, there is not one instructional method that is better than the rest. Additionally, teaching should not be done in a way that best suits the learner's needs. The learners should instead be challenged with a variety of different learning experiences. Teachers should ask questions and have learners judge their teaching to determine what teaching method works best for a given set of behavioral objectives. Teaching can be stressful if the learners are not interested or concerned with the material being taught. This can be overcome with experience and patience. Similarly, teaching certain subjects can be uncomfortable for the teacher and learner due to a lack of knowledge or teaching skill. This can be overcome by the teacher increasing their understanding of a subject and, of course, practice. If additional help is needed, teachers should assess their own feelings about the material being taught and seek guidance from colleagues. Evaluation of instructional methods is valuable to all instructional programs. This is why we have evaluations at the end of each term, to help our professors learn about our reactions to their teaching method and its effectiveness. The following are some questions that any educator should ask themselves to help decide what method will be most effective. First, does the method help the learners to achieve the stated objectives? This is the most important question for evaluation. If the teaching method does not facilitate accomplishing the objectives, then all other criteria are unimportant. Is the learning activity accessible to the learners who have been targeted? Location and setting in which teaching takes place can determine what resources and equipment are available to the learners. If learners cannot access the material, no learning will occur. Is the method efficient given the time, energy, and resources available in relation to the number of learners the educator is trying to teach? The more learners, the less individualized teaching will be. For example, small group discussions might be inappropriate for a lecture of 300 students. To what extent does the method allow for active participation and accommodation? To what extent does the method allow for active participation to accommodate the needs, abilities, and style of the learner? Active participation has been heavily researched and has shown to increase learning interest and retention of knowledge learned. Lastly, is the method cost effective? Employers and insurers want to ensure their money is being invested in something that is sustainable, effective, and has the best possible outcomes at the lowest price. So next we're going to go into ways we can enhance verbal presentations. So the first technique to enhance verbal presentations is to present enthusiastically. To become an experienced teacher, one must have passion to continue improving their own abilities. Having a drive for excellence is a never-ending process that should continue throughout a teacher's professional career. The first technique is to present enthusiastically, as I said. People who are passionate about and interested in the material they teach are easier to listen to and to engage in conversation with. This can be accomplished by varying the quality and pitch of one's voice or by emphasizing parts of the material differently. Additionally, characteristics of a good public speaker can be used during teaching. This includes good eye contact, changing positions during presentation, and using a variety of gestures and facial expressions. Energetic attitude is contagious, but one must remember to use caution and not overuse body language as it can be distracting. The second technique is to include humor. This is similar to the previous slide, as someone who can grab the attention of the audience is easy to pay attention to. Additionally, teaching with humor helps to humanize the teacher, and the students feel more connected to them. When using humor, it is important to remember to not make an audience member the subject of humor to avoid put-downs. Further, the use of humor establishes an atmosphere where human error is accepted and not ridiculed. The third technique is to exhibit risk-taking behavior. Effective teachers should be willing to use activities and exercises that may lead to a variety of different outcomes. Using this technique encourages learners to reach their own conclusions, and that there isn't always one right answer. A teacher that can handle different outcomes is better able to handle controversial issues during discussion. The fourth technique is to deliver material dramatically. This technique seeks to engage the learner emotionally with the use of surprise, controlled tension, or ploys. By connecting the educational material directly to the learner's life experiences, information is better understood and retained. Using activities like simulation, role-playing, and games that leave a lasting impression by arousing the learner's emotions. The fifth technique is choosing problem-solving activities. The use of problem-solving activities can help learners develop problem-solving skills for real-life experiences. As healthcare professionals, we will be asked to participate on multidisciplinary teams to uncover problems and look for solutions. Additionally, we will need to have adequate problem-solving skills to help clients with chronic conditions. Our clients' families will need to know the details about the condition and how to adjust to someone being sick or an emergency. Further, they will need to know what constitutes an emergency. Detailing these kinds of things with our clients will make them better prepared for extenuating circumstances and make us better teachers in times of emergency. The sixth technique is to serve as a role model. Educators who seek to include evidence-based practice into their teaching demonstrate the importance of staying up to date with research. Including EBP is an easy way to gain the confidence of learners and give credence to what they learn. Learners want to be like their teachers if they display desirable qualities and will likely imitate that behavior. The seventh technique is to use anecdotes and examples. A creative teacher will use stories and examples from their practice to illustrate the main points in a lesson, and anecdotes can be used to elicit an emotional response to clarify a topic under discussion, reinforcing the learning principle that simple representations can assist the learner in grasping complex ideas by using relevant examples or past experiences can help them connect to materials in a concrete way. The eighth and final technique is to use technology. In a world where technology use is rapidly increasing, effective teachers will use that to their advantage. Including technology broadens and adds additional opportunities for teaching and learning for the teacher and the learner. Different types of technology might assist the learning process by being convenient, accessible, and stimulating. For example, we might already be experienced in online learning due to prior use, but our professors this term had to learn how to use the different websites associated with StanBridge to teach us effectively. So why does all of this matter? As stated, an expert teacher is constantly continuing to improve their skills, and that can be done by implementing the strategies given. Excellence is a goal that is worked toward throughout a teacher's professional life. So next we have principles for teaching across methodologies. The first is to give positive reinforcement. Rewarding even a small success can instill satisfaction to the learner, but remember that an incentive that works for one learner might not work for the next. Project an attitude of acceptance and